Welcome back to Late Night Racing, and we are here in Bahrain today for the next round of the Pro Tier Championship. This one is going to be so exciting because Bahrain, of course, is a venue these drivers have already been to this season, albeit for pre-season testing, but nonetheless, they know this track, they know each other, they know who's fast, they know who's slow, and they are so eager to prove their worth out on the track today. Our drivers now coming to a standstill on the grid as all preparations are being made for the start of the Bahrain Grand Prix. That is all cars now on the grid, and the lights will begin to come on. There they are now, 3, 4, 5 lights, and we are off for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Now the McLaren of Tony Montana getting a phenomenal getaway, it looks like, and quite possibly now the leader Quad having to defend his line into the first corner. Oh, and the Renault of Veyron colliding, it looks like, with a car running immediately in front of him as the cars go side by side, and that is Domi spun around, facing backwards on exit from the third corner.
Yeah, watching the racing points, they nearly went into each other, and we've got a Darrow still in 12th place, showing this actually got up to 9th, but yeah, we definitely saw those carbon fiber flying there off the Renault, and interesting that Domi, well, I'm sorry, I did definitely put the commentator's curse on him, thought for a podium, didn't think he was going to go for the last lap, but as we've rounded the corners here, we can see that relapse is going to be disqualified from the session, so we're going to have to maybe try and see if we can find out what the issue might have been. But yeah, Samcat J is there in 10th place, just been overtaken by Vera.
That's right, and so much action here on the start. Many of our other cars managing to get through the track without too many issues. The Mercedeses of El Jefe and Pika Pika actually fighting it out through this first sector. And let's just have a look at that incident at the very start of the race while we have a brief respite from the action. And we'll see the Renault all the way on the right side of the screen collide with, it looks like, Domi and the Mercedes of Pika Pika or El Jefe. At the start, they're damaging his front wing and quite possibly ruining his race.
What he can do here from 16th position. He's got the whole track to himself while the drivers are all, you know, quite congested in the midfield. So he's going to start his race down. A few strategies are changing as we go.
Bit of a battle back there between Ant there. Ant is losing places after losing 4 positions off the grid there. And also, he's now under pressure from Domi, who has lost 10th positions from a very poor start back in P13, trying to get up at least some damage limitation control.
It'd be interesting to see that start again, because I'm not quite sure what actually Domi, did he just have a bad start, or was he attacked along the way?
I think it was the contact with one of the Renaults that quite possibly upset him into the first. His soft tires, he's going to have a lot of traffic to make his way through, only to then pit immediately. Back on board with Shonen, who's all over the back of the Mercedes of Jefe, lining up side by side on the start-finish straight. Deep on the brakes, locking up in the inside tire, nearly colliding with the Ferrari of Alex Perita, who has made significant gains from the start, up by 6th position, as is Shonen. And now Shonen on the defensive from El Jefe after completing that overtake, successfully keeping that 6th position, and now setting his sights on the Ferrari drive.
When he made that recovery drive to the podium after starting 9th from the grid. So all is not lost for our drivers here, and there's a yellow in sector 2 and 3.
Ooh, wow, that looks like a serious collision there between quite possibly Domi and Sam Capjay. Domi just having an absolutely awful time of this race right now suffering significant damage on his front wing, and unfortunately that is probably going to see him into the pits and into quite possibly dead last on the road. We did not catch it on our cameras, but that is...
Mercedes. Yeah, sorry to El Jefe, just really got a lot of oversteer there, and just giving up 2 places to Shonen and Veron. Sorry, Sarge.
Absolutely. These drivers struggling a little bit with consistency at the moment. Shonen and El Jefe essentially exchanging errors here in the first and second sectors. So that Pika Pika's pace might begin to fall as we go on board with Impervious, who is making a move onto Tony Montana. Very careful and leaving each other plenty of space into the 4th corners. But is he going to be able to make a move now that they've entered into the S's at the start of the 2nd sector? Doesn't look like it. And that is Impervious staying in 4th position for the time being, but look at how close he is to the back of that McLaren.
Veron has actually made 7 places in this race, and Alex Prix is 6 and Shonin 4. Shonin's catching up to the back of Veron, who's just behind Peter. But this is not really the race Racing Points had in mind when they left Japan, feeling quite pleased with himself last week, as Impervious does indeed take Tony Montana.
It does, but that move is not quite done as the two are still side by side. The McLaren driver does back out before that slippery apex of turn 12, and he's going to look to set up a counter move on perhaps one of the following straights.
As yet, and Anonymous and Domi still around the back, but we get a safety car. Domi coming as Shonin looks like he's making a move on Veron. Or El Jefe, actually. I don't know if he took El Jefe for 7th place.
Well, El Jefe, too, being the second running Mercedes, was kind of victimized by his track position as Pika Pika got the priority for, for who gets to pit when they choose. Pika Pika elected to pit on entering lap 7, and that means that now El Jefe has to stay out for that extra lap on those degrading tires and lose a lot of time. Oh my goodness, as Ant goes a little deep into turn 10, now risking a move from Outer Rim, who is steadily recovering positions in this race. It is overtake or be overtaken for Ant now, who takes the inside of turn 11, side by side now with the Mercedes of El Jefe, and taking that position up into 8th for Ant in the Red Bull. Alex Parita. These guys are running in a very tight pack, which also includes Impervious as well as the 2 Racing Points that are rapidly gaining on the pair. Both drivers locking up the inside front, and these guys are on the medium tire, so they can't shred those tires quite yet. Now, side by side on the start-finish straight, the Renault and the Ferrari. The Renault having so much more pace, though, going into the first corner, but who will be brave around the brakes? The Ferrari slots back in onto the racing line, and Veyron running a little deep in the corner. Will that compromise him on the run down the following straight? It definitely looks like it has. Alex Parita, looking to make a move past, but Veyron just moving ever so slightly and trying to fend off the Ferrari driver, still side by side now through turn 5, now into the S's. Neither driver wants to concede. They're trying to share the track. They're trying to be the one that comes out ahead, and now, that is Shonin in the Racing Point, and he nearly collides with the pair, quite possibly losing bits and pieces of his front wing. You can see there a piece of carbon fiber flying off in the rear view, and these drivers in an absolute gladiator match right now on the track, all of whom are having a absolute field day here out on the Bahrain International Circuit. Side by side now for Impervious and El Jefe, and that is the move seemingly done for the AlphaTauri driver. But now, what is Shonin going to be able to show us into the first corner, pulling also to the inside? Very little resistance from Ant on that move, and it looks like he is perfectly happy to let Shonin take over, give him some DRS, and tow him around for at least a few laps here.
We've got 2 timers, 15 drives in, getting to the halfway stage as Outer Rim pits, and
oh my goodness, and that is El Jefe going extremely deep into the first corner there, and now he's going to get victimized by Alex Parita, who himself overtakes the Mercedes driver after he took way too early of an apex, locked up, and went deep off the track. And out of that corner, losing numerous positions and enabling Impervious to slither away of the Red Bull driver, but he is waiting patiently for that start-finish straight when he will get the DRS and get the ample space and opportunity to make the move into the first corner, right on the back now of the red car, moving to the inside line, and that is going to be virtually a wave by an ace back up into second position.
Watching Ant and Anonymous and Outer Rim between 12th and 14th here, really trying to battle. Outer Rim is making up the pace on Anonymous as they're just coming round and crossing the start and finish line, and he is taking it on the right side. He's going side by side, Outer Rim, and they're going in deep. Who's going to last of the late breakers? And Outer Rim is just took Anonymous on the left hand side.
A length of stint just yet in this race. Now, Outer Rim, speaking of the Haas driver, now on the back of Ant, and has been for the last lap, looking to set up an overtake, and now he puts that DRS button down to its full range of travel, moving to the inside and past the Red Bull driver into the first corner, not closing off the line, but being careful not to go too deep and getting a good exit. We have yellow flags here in Sector 2. As
Sam
Sam
again, yeah, it's fine. I think Sausage could win again.
who is still paying the price for his mistake just a few laps ago. DRS open now for the Racing Point driver, not, however, for the Mercedes, and that is Shonen to the inside of turn 11. And that is looking like the move done, unless the Mercedes driver can reverse the racing line, and he does. But the next corner is in Shonen's favor, and that is the Racing Point driver up into new hard tires, or at least brand new by hard standards, compared to the ancient mediums on the Racing Point immediately in front of him. Adero locking up every which way, not showing his tires any mercy. And look at that, his rear end stepping out ever so slightly out of the final corner. Now the Red Bull drivers lining up Adero into turn number 1, keeping his overtake off as his battery is already low enough, and that is him into first position. Crucially, Adero will still have to pit, whereas Ace can take his hards all the way to the end of the race. That late comeback that he so badly craves. Plenty of cars he will have to get past, but unlike Suzuka, this is a track built for overtaking, and this is a track that he will attempt to do just that as he dives into the pits now, as Veyron now right on the back of Quad side by side into the first corner. The Williams defending the inside, leaving his rival barely any space on the exit. Still side by side and edging out the Renault onto the next straight is Quad, trying desperately to keep that third position. Not enough pace for Veyron to pull off an overtake, and that is going to be him slotting in just behind the Williams driver for at least a few more corners here. Or is he?
Darrow.
Indeed.
Shonen, his teammate, has got a bit of a battle. He's been having a battle with Impervious for a long time, P7 and P6 and P7, but obviously Impervious will be chewing through those mediums a lot more than Shonen will be chewing through those hards.
And still side-by-side stuff between our cars running third and fourth on the road through the entirety here of the S's into the third sector. They go wheel to wheel, and that is Veyron getting the inside line into turn 13, but crucially Quad getting a much better exit onto the following straight. This battle far from over as these two drivers running the same compound of tires, nearly the same age, and Alex Parita just sitting behind waiting for that opening to try to overtake this pair. Any mistake will be fatal, surely, as the Williams driver opens up. The DRS goes to the outside of the track to try to attempt his comeback, breaking early and trying to switch up the racing line. Now it's going to be all about the exit against the Renault driver. Another DRS zone awaits, and he is all over the back of that black and yellow car, moving to the inside for the fourth corner. And is he brave enough on the brakes, clipping the inside curb? Oh, barely nearly touching his rival and unable to make that move stick, crucially, and allowing Alex Parita within range to attack as well.
And outer rim in the Haas.
Oh, and that is a spin for Quad into the wall. That is Quad into the wall. Unfortunately, not suffering too much damage here, but we got that on the replay. It looked like almost an unforced error, just trying to push his car to the very limits, just clipping that exit curb and going off of the circuit is our Williams driver.
He has no damage. He has no damage, I believe. So that was a lucky save, but now he's got to be under big trouble right now, as he has tried to get his tires back up under temperature because they're overheated. Spooky's all over the back of Quad.
And Spooky's going to definitely look to take advantage of that.
Watching Adero, he's caught 4 seconds on Ant, who's up the road in 9th place, who's just behind Outer Rim, and he's just got a 1:28.7 fastest lap in the Racing Point. So Adero's maybe not looking for a podium, but you can't rule that out, and he's going up the roads on the softs and making use of them while he still can. He starts lap 22.
Corner. Look at how much pace he has against his rival, moving to the inside on exit from turn 8. Now side by side to turn 10. I was telling you guys somebody would be brave enough to try this race, and Adero forces Ant into a mistake as the ladder locks up, goes wide in turn 10, and that is Adero now into a confident position 9, immediately behind Outer Rim on those tires. Adero is definitely staging a comeback now.
He's bustling past there, wasn't he, Adero? He muscled past Ant there into the turn, and he's holding off Ant pretty easily. So Adero right over the back of Outer Rim, and he's getting a bit punchy in these corners, Adero, and he's certainly deciding to give these tires a good run for the money.
Only 7 laps left that he has to manage them for, and ooh, not looking to make a move down into the final 2 corners here as Adero, but he's going to have quite a gap to close after his surely inevitable overtake here against Outer Rim to chase down Quad, who's over 6 seconds ahead, and then it is another several seconds to Spooky Impervious and his teammate Shonen, who's currently occupying the 5th position. Side by side, the 2 cars go on exit from the first 3 corners, and that is Adero confidently into the 8th position, and we'll keep an eye on his efforts and see if he's able to gain that gap with the laps still remaining. Driver standings just half a second separating him and the car immediately in front. We're gonna move to a different Ferrari just for the time being as Bumpy Flump makes a lunge against Outer Rim into the 4th corner, nearly losing his car, but avoiding contact with the wall, crucially losing some valuable tenths here and letting Ant get into range for an attack. Monitoring Adero's gap to Quad as well, closing to a little over 4.5 seconds over the past lap. And that is not going to be a pace that he's particularly happy with if he wants to challenge for the podium still. Is trying to make that overtake against Outer Rim, ultimately unsuccessful just for the time being and having to slot in behind the Haas driver. Just until the 8th corner, though, it seems, as he is going around the outside, getting squeezed on exit by the Haas driver, but just unable to sneak his way past. Around the Sakir circuit here, keeping or doing his best to keep that 9th position and creating a little bit of a train behind him. That is Bumpy Flump in 10th, then Ant and Tony Montana also in the hunt for their points this race, immediately behind the Ferrari driver. So crucially, if Bumpy Flump can't make this overtake, then he will be in danger of conceding positions as well. Around the outside of the first corner, still side by side, these 2 cars go. The Ferrari driver getting the inside of turn 2, and now onto the back straight. The rear wing open for the number 24 car. That is crucially, surely going to enable him to go around the outside of turn 4 against the Haas driver. That is Bumpy Flump into 9th position, taking that spot with incredible flair. Some of these drivers, maybe even esports hopefuls for the future, but first they have to prove their worth here on the track against their LNR competition. Alex Parita still within mere tenths behind Veyron, still fighting for that 3rd position, and it looks like he's going to have his best run of the race so far, going to the outside of the 4th corner against the Renault driver. So crucial to remain without contact here, side by side through this corner, and unfortunately the Ferrari unable to get the corner exit he wanted, and still sticking in 4th position. Quad making it past Impervious, and we have yellow flags there as it looks like the Bumpy Flump.
The other Ferrari.
Spun, yes.
That's fun. So he's having a bumpy trip around the track, isn't he? And he's also got 3 seconds of penalties. But El Jefe up ahead has 6, so I think El Jefe is looking to take those penalties again.
The chance of 3rd place with 3 laps to go. I think it took your bit your hand off really as the Impervious and Quad are battling away, because some of the driver, he's done all right actually since starting off with 12-13. Everybody else has kind of had their issues as they've been in this race.
Adero now having a front row seat for the battle between Impervious and Quad, which is allowing him to close into attacking range. He now goes down the inside of his first victim. That is Impervious. Adero now into 7th position, and it looks like Impervious not particularly willing or able to put up a fight against him. Now, he is in the hunt for the next car, and that is, of course, Quad. We're going to go on board briefly. Well, we are going to go on board briefly with Alex Parita, who is staging yet another overtake past Veyron. Now, surely, he will be able to make that move work around the outside. Still the 2 battle, and now the Ferrari looks to have the nose in to the next corner as Quad retires from the session, and is that a collision with Adero?
He did look at it. I did see the yellows in sector 1 and saw that both of the pinpoints were not moving, so yeah, it could have been if you got Quad out of this race.
Terrible, terrible luck for the Williams driver, who had so much potential here, and crucially, this sets Adero back 8.8 seconds to Impervious, and that is unfortunately going to be the end of his hopes for a podium, and that so desperately desired comeback drive in this race. And, clearly running away from this pack, 1.3 seconds between Alex Parita and the Mercedes driver, and then Veyron and Shonen right in the wheel tracks of the Ferrari. Is Shonen going to consider a dive down the inside of the first corner? He will! Oh, and he collides!
He's hit the Ferrari! Oh, that's...
A severe
That's a bit-
collision. We're going to watch that on replay as he looks like he just overcommitted and outbraked himself ever so slightly. If it was just him and the Renault side by side, it would have been a perfectly fine move, but because the Ferrari was also there, it did not enable him to complete that corner, to run a little deep, just because there was a physical object in the way that he collided with. And Shonen, now suffering significant wing damage, is going to hope that Impervious does not catch him before the end of this lap.
Behind him as he turns around the corner, T15. He's going to be in great spirits as we get to Albert Park in Melbourne next week. Well done to Ace. He crosses the line and he's won the Bahrain Grand Prix. Well done, Ace.
Oh, and it's side-by-side stuff now for Veyron and Alex Parita as the Renault driver makes the overtake into the very final corner of the track to take the third and final podium position from the Ferrari in the very last opportunity he had.
What an absolute great battle between those two drivers, absolutely giving it everything they got and not taking each other's out. I'm not quite sure what happened with Shonen. That's very uncharacteristic of him. Maybe there's some sort of failure. We shall see. He will let us know. But yeah, well job for Ace taking a run with that. But Pika too. She will be super stoked with that second place.
Absolutely.
Pika has only finished one race so far and came with 10 points. So she'll go right up the standards to about 4th, 5th place.
Absolutely, and crucially, the top team in the championship standings losing out massively to their rivals. On the other hand, Ace gaining a phenomenal amount of points against both Shonen and Adero, and that will elevate him into some crucial territory to contest for the Drivers' Championship. Brilliantly driven by the Red Bull driver. Once again, another phenomenal performance, and that is 2 wins in a row. Well deserved, and congratulations. And there we have it. This is the end of the Bahrain Grand Prix for LNR's Pro Tier, and we have our final protocol here. It is Ace taking the race win from second on the grid, keeping it clean, keeping it precise, and above all, incredibly fast. Pika taking the second podium position. Surely we'll be very happy with that. And Veyron from 14th on the grid in the Renault in 3rd place with that overtake against Alex Parita, who finished 4th. Shonen with damage after that collision in 5th position. Impervious in 6th. Adero 7th. Outer Rim in 8th. Ant 9th, and Tony Montana rounding out the top 10. My pick for today's breakout performance, Anonymous, unfortunately unable to make an impression, finishing in 11th place. El Jefe behind him following several unfortunate incidents in 12th, Sam Capche 13th, Bumpy Flump in 14th, Quad 15th, Domi 16th, and Relapse in 17th position, rounding out our finishers today.